A colleague asked me the other day about my thoughts on using shockwave with tendinopathy, and it got me thinking about research versus clinical experience, and what do you go upon, or do you choose either, or do you stick to a mixture of both? And I think for me, especially in an elite sport environment, sometimes you've got to try some things. So if we use the shockwave example, I know Jill Cook and Ebony Rio and Craig Purdham's tendinopathy research suggests you wouldn't want to do something like shockwave, that you're irritating the tendon and that sort of thing. But in my experience here at the Warriors, we've had really good results with shockwave, and I think it's probably created a desensitization to pain, which has then allowed us to do the things that the research shows are beneficial for healing and improved function, which is load the tendon and go from there. So in that scenario, why wouldn't we use the shockwave? If it allows us to do what the research says actually works, then even though the research on shockwave is debatable, in that scenario we have good research to back the use of shockwave. And I think that's the same with any sort of treatment modality. Clinical experience is of big importance, and sometimes things will work even if you're not sure why, and I think sometimes that's important to go with, is if you get the result you're after, even if you don't always understand why, or the research suggests that it won't work, I wouldn't personally stop doing that as long as it's safe, because if I'm getting the result I'm after and the player is after and he gets to play and do whatever, well, that's a positive. So that's my opinion on that. I think clinical experience is just as valuable as research, even if they go against one another. And I think, a bit like the Rubik's Cube example I used a few weeks ago, I think you have to bring all those different aspects together and then make an informed decision. You're trying to make a prediction based on all the available information, and you're not always going to be right, but the more information you have, hopefully the better decision you can make. And sometimes that's going to go against what the research suggests, because research can't always be perfectly performed, and anything to do with humans is always going to be variable. So I think that's important to keep in the back of our minds. Thanks.